Welcome to the Kelly Healing Project, where we have real conversations about healing, growth, and stepping into your power. I'm Kelly, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I want to challenge a belief that so many of us have. It's the belief that before we change our lives, we first have to become confident. We tell ourselves, when I feel more confident, I'll start the business. When I feel more confident, I'll apply for the job. When I feel more confident, I'll speak up. When I feel more confident, I'll finally believe in myself. But what if we've had it backwards all along? What if you don't need more confidence? What if you simply need more evidence? Waiting for confidence. For years, I believed confidence was something people either had or they didn't. I thought confident people were somehow different, that they weren't afraid, that they never questioned themselves. But as I've continued on my own healing journey, I've realized something. Confidence isn't usually where the journey begins. Confidence is often the result of showing up again and again, even when you're uncertain. So confidence isn't the first step. So think about riding a bike. No one feels confident before they learn. They wobble, they fall, they get back up. Eventually, their brain gathers enough evidence to believe, I can do this. The same is true for almost everything else in life. Confidence grows from experience. So when I launched the Kelly Healing Project, I wasn't overflowing with confidence. I questioned myself. Would anyone listen to my podcast? Would people think I was strange for talking about healing, trauma, and nervous system regulation? Would anyone visit my website? Would anyone want coaching? The confidence didn't come first. What came first was one small action: recording one episode, publishing one blog post, sending one email, reaching out to one podcast guest, posting one video. Each small step became another piece of evidence that I could do hard things, that I could learn, evidence that I didn't have to be perfect. And it sure has been a learning experience, and I am so grateful. You know, when you start something, everyone has to start somewhere, and what people, where people hold themselves back when they self-sabotage is they think they have to be perfect before they even start. But how are you going to learn? Nobody, even the experienced speakers that you see speaking on big stages, they had to start somewhere. So sometimes you need to give yourself grace. So as I'm doing this, it's coming up on almost a year since I started this podcast. And each time I do it, it gets easier and easier. And I used to, I have a hard time, speaking about this, and oh my gosh, is anybody going to find it? What are they going to think? I no longer care. And also, as I'm doing this, I'm becoming a lot better. I'm becoming more aware of how I speak and just how I sound overall, trying not to use filler words, trying to, when you're trying to emphasize something, you talk more loudly, when you're trying to do, it depends on what you're trying to articulate, then, you adjust accordingly. But as you do a podcast, you get better at speaking, you get better at all of this, even organizing it. Sometimes I wasn't very organized, and this is the case too, even with my, I do short videos, on various platforms. I do short videos to try to help, build my audience, to try to reach more people, because let's face it, a lot of people, they have a short attention span, and that's okay. Social media has kind of made us that way. And so, but it's been challenging because there's times where I have a lot to speak about and I have a lot to say, but so I'd start recording a video, and heck, it would go to almost 10 minutes, and I'm like, people are not going to watch a video, of somebody they don't know for 10 full minutes. Like, attention is something that you have to earn, and you can earn it through short content. And that's one thing that I had to do, and I had to learn myself. So I've become a lot better at even organizing it. And so I used to be so disorganized, and I was just like, I think, this is the topic I want to talk about. And I would just hit record and I would just start talking, and it would just like almost like a kind of word vomit, like everything would come out, all this stuff, and I get off topic. But I've learned to be more organized, more intentional with my content. Okay, what am I gonna? Okay, this is gonna be the message. Okay, what's the main? What's the hook? What's the main point? What's the takeaway? That kind of thing. And sometimes all those filler words, they just kind of jumble together, and you don't necessarily have to have it. So even with short, like I was overcomplicating it, but I've learned. And that's the case with everybody. You learn. You think you have to be confident first. You just get started, and then you figure it out from there. Hey, this doesn't work. Hey, I feel like I'm off topic. This is kind of all over the place. I don't really think this is good. How can I improve it? And, there's ways and there's resources out there. Anything you want to learn, the internet is at your fingertips, and you can find something on it. So I had to do a little of my own kind of social media training, and okay, well, it wasn't anything super intense, but I had to learn how can I organize this better? This is what I want to do. How can I get better at it? What should I do going forward? And I've become a lot better at it. And it's becoming easier, and I've learned even exposure therapy, guys. Even if you want to say have a TikTok channel and you want to create content, the first several times, it could be even the first few months of you recording videos, oh my God, you're going to be so overly critical of yourself. But I guarantee you, these are things that not other people are going to say, or not even other people are going to think, but you are thinking, you are being so overly critical of yourself, but you're learning. And even if you post it, who cares? I have seen so many channels with people who don't have really, even good deep content, but they have so many followers, and they're not afraid to get out there and just hit record and just go. So you have to do what's true to you. You can't, think that you have to have everything figured out. Just get started. And then you'll adjust from there. Even with me, okay, it's a little too long. I need to get more organized. Okay, get more organized. And then, then I'm having people saying, oh my God, I really need to hear that today. Thank you so much. And I'm just like, okay, if I help one person, it's great. And it's building and it's growing, and I'm liking it. And it's just one of those things where I have to fit into my schedule, but I'm starting to love it, and I'm starting to overthink it less and just go with it. And I guarantee you, a lot of people can, sometimes be their own worst enemy. They are so overly critical of themselves, and you just have to remember that everyone has to start somewhere. And you can't be super critical of, oh my gosh, I'm not perfect. Nobody was perfect. And if you want to do anything, it takes time to build those skills. You can't expect to go out on stages and to speak to, thousands of people when, you haven't even got started, when you're not even making videos, when you're not even podcasting, when you're not even practicing speaking. Speaking is an art and a practice. And you have to practice, and you have to, you have to work on it. And from there, you will grow. And then you'll get more confident. You'll be like, I got this. Because there's so many people out there, even, I've seen people, and I'm like, wow, if they can do it, then so can I. Yes, the hell you can. Anyone can. But you just convince yourself that you can't. So why does trauma make this hard? If you experience trauma, criticism, or rejection, your brain naturally collects evidence that the world isn't safe. You may remember every mistake you've ever made, every time you were embarrassed, every time you failed, every time someone judged you. Your brain is trying to protect you. But here's the beautiful part. Your brain can also collect new evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you set a boundary, every time you speak your truth, and every time you choose yourself, you're teaching your nervous system something new. I survived. I handled that. I can trust myself. The brain is able to adapt. So if you provide enough evidence, you create new connections and new it's neuroplasticity. plasticity. You just have to provide enough evidence. So start collecting different evidence. Instead of asking yourself, how do I become more confident? Try asking, what evidence can I create today? Maybe today's evidence is sending the email you've been avoiding. Maybe it's recording your first video. Maybe it's making the phone call. Maybe it's saying no when you would normally say yes. It doesn't have to be a giant step. Small acts repeated consistently create confidence. So confidence is really self-trust. I've come to believe that confidence isn't about feeling fearless. It's about trusting yourself, trusting that whatever happens, you'll figure out. That doesn't happen overnight. It happens through keeping promises to yourself, one promise at a time. So here's some questions to leave you with. So what if the person you're becoming doesn't need to wait until they feel ready? What if the next small action you're avoiding is actually the very thing that will create the confidence you've been waiting for? Confidence isn't something you find, it's something you build. And you build it by collecting evidence that you are capable. So if today's episode encouraged you, I want to leave you with one final reminder. Don't wait until you feel confident to begin. Begin so that confidence has the chance to grow. Every small action that you take is another vote for the person you're becoming. Every promise you keep to yourself is another piece of evidence that you can trust yourself. Keep collecting that evidence, one small step at a time. Thank you so much for listening to the Kelly Healing Project. Remember, healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about reconnecting with who you truly are. Healing the past, empowering your future. If you'd like to connect further, you can visit me at thekellyhealingproject.com. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Bye, guys.